Good day, everybody, and welcome to another edition of the Military and Foreign Affairs Network. I'm your host, the voice of reason. So, in this episode, I wanted to talk about the United States uh, and possible options that could be used against Eritrea, Ethiopia, over the ongoing crisis inside of the Tigray region, and more specifically, why are we not seeing more efforts by the West, by the United States, in attempting to end the travesty that is occurring inside of the Tigray region? Well, what I can tell you, the biggest issue right now for the United States is the United States. And I don't know how many viewers are inside of the United States, and of those viewers, how many are educated in terms of the ongoing political situation inside of the United States. But I can tell you right now, the United States has never been more divided politically. We are, in terms of the political equation, where we are heading, it would appear that the gravitational pull that is being caused by the divide inside of the United States would appear to be heading towards something along the lines of Spain in the mid to late 1930s. Now, of course, no one wants us to reach that point, but all signs would appear that the United States is heading in that direction. Could there be something that deviates us off that course and puts us into a new trajectory that would not lead to that ultimate outcome? Possibly, hopefully. But right now, if you look at the U.S. media and the media, and I have talked about this in other episodes as well, in Lessons in Insanity. Feel free to go check those videos out. But the media right now is pushing the United States away from its center, away from itself, away from cohesion. It is dividing the country. And when you have a country that is this divided right now, meaning the United States, it is very difficult for the United States to exert itself internationally, and especially now. Any sort of even minor military action could be utilized by either side of the body politic inside of the United States to attack the other. Right, wrong, indifferent, it doesn't matter. Again, it's that division inside of the United States which is causing a lot of inaction. And there are many, many, many differences. It's just not one issue at hand. It is a issue of where the country is heading between the two parties and the two, I guess you call them subgroups, the two tribes now inside of the United States. And again, if you watch the media is propagating this in a way that I've never seen it before. Again, go back 10, 20 years ago, you would never observe this kind of activity by what you would define as the mainstream media to intentionally divide America, and even within the programming itself of the media, that from the newspapers to the major news networks, they're actually taking hostile positions towards one political party or the other, and it's very, very concerning. And that is one reason why we're not seeing the United States doing some of the things that it probably would have done in the past. Additionally, there is another major issue for the United States, which really has the U.S. military very, very focused, and that is China. China is rapidly expanding its armed forces. It continues to grow all segments of its military, its navy, its air force, its army, but more specifically, its Air Force and Navy. And you continue to hear reports that the Chinese Navy is now larger than the United States Navy in terms of actual ships. Now, not tonnage, just ships. Will it reach a point where it exceeds the United States in tonnage in terms of the size of the vessels that it deploys? Possibly. We'll have to see. That's 5-10 years down the road. But they are heading towards a becoming probably more powerful than what we observed in terms of the Soviet Union during the Cold War, possibly exceeding the capabilities of the Soviet Union, and that's happening very quickly. So you've heard about the United States repositioning and pivoting towards Asia. Well, that's kind of what we are seeing now. And if there was to be a conflict, if China was to attempt to seize control of Taiwan or did seize control of Taiwan, obviously it would control a huge segment of the microchip sector within the world. It would control vast areas of strategically important shipping lanes if they were successful in that conflict. So that has the attention of the United States, very much so. And unfortunately for the United States, for the last 20 years, we have been engaged in major counterinsurgency operations, both in Iraq and Afghanistan. And the United States has not been focusing on near-peer operations, meaning going to war with very large nation states such as China and Russia. And we have neglected some of those capabilities that we should have been developing, specifically hypersonic missiles in other areas as well. There's a great many areas where the United States has neglected its ongoing defense resources, and especially in the neighborhood of technology. So we've allowed the Chinese to catch up. We have allowed now even the Russian Federation in some cases to catch up in certain areas. And now in other areas, the United States still retains an incredible degree of superiority over some of these other nation states. And one of those, obviously, I've talked about before, nuclear attack submarines. We are at the cutting edge of those resources, of those capabilities, and that's just one area. But again, the fragmentation that is going on inside of the United States and the focus on China has really caused the United States to look elsewhere when it probably should be looking at what is occurring inside of the Tigray region. But at the same time, what options does the United States have in terms uh, of attempting to stop this? Well, I can tell you that the focus on the Ethiopian economy is one area that the United States is able to bring pressure, and that pressure is slowly starting to come to bear. And whether or not the United States starts to cut foreign aid, starts to cut and apply additional sanctions, we'll see what happens. But at the same time, the Ethiopian economy is self-destructing. Inflation is reportedly at 13%, probably much higher than that. Gross domestic product is down to 2%. The prospect of foreign investment, especially Western foreign investment, is reducing. People do not want to come to a country and invest when, in all probability, that country will become a despotic dictatorship, just like Eritrea. And unfortunately for the former state of Ethiopia, as I prefer to call it, because that's what is what it is, especially when you see these regions pulling away from the centralized government. That is what is going to happen. The Ethiopian economy is going to either slowly or very quickly at some point collapse and see hyperinflation, the likes of which we possibly saw in Zimbabwe. Everyone has seen the $1 billion Zimbabwe, the £1 billion or dollar or whatever the currency is in Zimbabwe note. But that is exactly what is going to happen in terms of Ethiopia as it continues to fight multiple wars on itself. It is fighting a very high intensity now, both conventional and high intensity insurgency with the Tigray region. It is fighting a high intensity war against the Oromia region as well. And we don't see this stopping at any point. Furthermore, you have a very non-Western nation, meaning the despotic state of Eritrea, really becoming the puppet master of Ethiopia. Whatever Isaias Afwerki says, Abiy Ahmed is probably going to do at this stage, as he is keeping Ethiopia afloat militarily, not economically, but militarily. The use of Eritrean forces inside of Ethiopia has kept the Prosperity Party afloat and in power. And Abiy Ahmed was just self-nominated as ruler for another 5 years. And we can see now that even within the right of media to cover certain issues going on inside of Ethiopia is being attacked. I talked about this before, where a journalist simply videotaped a protest inside of the capital, Addis Ababa, and he was arrested and thrown into prison for that. So Abiy Ahmed has 5 years now to continue to strangle any semblance of democracy inside of Ethiopia. And I would imagine that only the use of force or major internal upheaval and protests that desire the removal of Abiy Ahmed will remove him. Now, what's interesting is Abiy Ahmed is now creating very elite units to protect his regime. He is creating a Republican Guard, uh, i.e., a Praetorian Guard, a force separate from the military that responds only to his orders, that is designed to protect the regime. He is doing that. And even in the United States, well, I don't want to say even in the United States, but the president of the United States is not allowed a force that protects the president. Even the Secret Service is mandated to have other duties besides just presidential protection. So just the Secret Service obviously is focused on presidential protection, but it also does other investigates financial crimes and counterfeit activity and such. So it has multiple roles and is not simply designed as presidential protection, and it doesn't have the capability of going into other agencies as well. They're separate. And yeah, that's what we're seeing right now with Abiy Ahmed. He is creating the resources and the structures needed to stay in power indefinitely, and we're actively seeing that. And in some cases, much of the population, some of the population inside the Amhara region, the Oromo region, even the Oromia region, for some reason supports the loss of democratic values and principles. And once you lose it, you'll never get it back. It'll only be through massive bloodshed that you will be able to re-democratize your nation. And unfortunately, Ethiopia is heading down a path towards a permanent regime that could be in power. But that is one reason why the United States is simply not interested. It sees most likely right now, unfortunately, Ethiopia as a black hole. It is something that is going to slowly de-evolve and eventually collapse. It is not sustainable in terms of what is occurring. It is actively looking at other nation states to support it, meaning China, meaning Eritrea, nation states that don't have the same democratic principles as the United States, unfortunately. And at a certain point, given what's going on inside of the United States is just going to say, have at it. You're on your own. And unfortunately, that's kind of what we are seeing. And because of events that are taking place inside of the United States, because of China, because of these other issues, we see a great instability right now in the Horn of Africa, and that should continue to destabilize as that's where it's heading. No one can argue that things are getting worse on the Horn of Africa as opposed to getting better, unfortunately. And that is why we're seeing what we're seeing. Again, could the United States intervene and quickly rectify the situation? I think, yeah, they could. I think the United States could intervene and remove Isaias Afwerki from power. I think that's a definite possibility with very limited assets. The United States could do that. Unfortunately, it's just something right now that the United States is not concerned with. It is fractured and dealing with our own internal division, and then obviously at the same time, with that internal division, we're continuing to watch China and respond to China as well. That's it for today, guys. Have a good one.